Let's observe silence for some time. Om. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7. We'll chant the first 6 verses.
मय्यासक्तमनः पार्थ योगं युञ्जन्मदाश्रयः असंशयं समग्रं माम् यथा ज्ञास्यसि तच्छृणु ज्ञानं तेऽहं सविज्ञानम् इदं वक्ष्याम्यशेषतः यज्ञात्वा नेह भूयोऽन्यत् ज्ञातव्यमवशिष्यते मनुष्याणां सहस्रेषु कश्चिद्यतति सिद्धये यततामपि सिद्धानां कश्चिन्मां वेत्ति तत्त्वतः भूमिरापो नलो वायुः खं मनो बुद्धिरेव च अहङ्कार इतीयं मे भिन्ना प्रकृतिरष्टधा अपरेयमितस्त्वन्याम् प्रकृतिं विद्धि मे पराम् जीवभूतां महाबाहो ययेदं धार्यते जगत् एतद्योनीनि भूतानि सर्वाणीत्युपधारय अहं कृत्स्नस्य जगतः प्रभवः प्रलयस्तथा
Last week we studied the first 2 verses, verse number 1 and 2 of the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Jnana Vijnana Yoga. Now, just to recap the main points in these 2 verses. So, the first verse, Krishna is addressing Arjuna's question in chapter number 6, where he talked about it's not easy to control the mind. I think verse number 33 and 34 is Arjuna's question. I am referring to the previous chapter, Dhyana Yoga. So quite frankly, Arjuna, and very practically also, he says to Krishna that it's not easy to control the mind. Mind is restless, it keeps on going all over the place, it is attached to so many things, it's turbulent. So how do I manage, govern such a mind? So the first verse is it is a further explanation of that question. So Krishna says, "O Partha, with the mind attached to me, meaning the self, the higher values, practicing yoga, taking refuge in me, how you shall without doubt," he is giving that assurance, "know me fully, samagram," that you do here. So the main point here is, where is our mind at this moment? By default, it has to be on the objects and beings of the world. Family, name, fame, wealth, reputation. This is what we mean by objects and beings, tangible and intangible aspects of the world. Now, how do you plug the mind from the world? So the word we are using is lower, and to plant it on the higher, that is spirituality. Being spiritual is not a particular lifestyle. This is what people they misunderstand. It doesn't matter what you do in life. Where are your thoughts? You could be in the spiritual field, so-called spiritual field, and your thoughts could be totally on the world. Or you could be engaged in your duties. You could be having family, you could be in a profession, you could be in politics, whatever. But your thoughts are planted on the higher, your thoughts are planted on the supreme reality. That is being spiritual. So how do you do that? That's the question. That is being spiritual. That is number one. Number two, nobody can give up anything in life. You can't give up your family, you can't give up your money, you can't give up your desires for the world. And nowhere in the scriptures they have said you have to give up. That's the misunderstanding. And even if you want to give up, you cannot give up. So what you can do is you can get established in the higher values of life. Do you follow the thought flow? And as you get established in the higher values, to the extent you get established in the higher values, to that extent, your lower desires will automatically fall away. To begin with, they will become weaker and weaker, and they will not bother you anymore. You will not even notice, oh, wow, I have overcome this desire. And for that, your association with this knowledge is required. Your daily study and reflection, that is must. So that's what brings about that shift, that change. That slowly and surely you get established in the higher values. That's the role your morning study and reflection plays. So these were the main points in the first verse. I'm just recapping. And then in verse number 2, Krishna says, I'm going to give you knowledge, and also I'm going to give you wisdom. So main point as a seeker, you need to understand that no external agency can give you wisdom. Jnanam is knowledge, Vijnanam is wisdom. So no external agency, no teacher, no book can give you wisdom. They can give you knowledge, they can give you information. And you have to put efforts to turn that knowledge into wisdom. So the word which we use is manana. Shravana is listening, reading. So when you put efforts, when you absorb that knowledge, eventually that knowledge will turn into wisdom. And when knowledge turns into wisdom, you live that knowledge, you apply these values, higher values, in your day-to-day life. But the difficulty which you and I face, and this is it's a common problem, that you have heard it 10 times. So you cannot say you do not know it, isn't it? You know it. You know it intellectually. That's it. You know it superficially, but you're not able to apply it in your day-to-day life. But since you have that feeling, I know it. I heard it so many times. You stop putting efforts. That's the problem. Your investigation ends there. So to understand, this is where you need to understand that yes, I may know it intellectually, but that does not mean I have wisdom. Because if you had wisdom, you would live this knowledge. In Vedanta, there is no difference between theory and practice. If you know it, you apply it. If you are not applying it, means what?
You don't know it.
You don't know it. But the problem is what? I know it. Do I not know the difference between mind and intellect? Of course, I know it. Do I not know the difference between love and attachment? Of course, I know it. But am I able to apply that in my life? Obviously, I can't. So that is where that difficulty comes. You need to understand the difference between knowledge and wisdom, jnanam and vijnanam. And once you get the knowledge, of course, you need knowledge to begin with. You put efforts, that process is called as manana. So knowledge turns into wisdom. Jnanam, vijnanam, nididhyasana. It's frequently used in Vedanta. Jnanam is knowledge, vijnanam is wisdom, nididhyasana is meditation. Or you can also say it is deep contemplation. And when deep contemplation is nothing but you are totally fixated on the ultimate goal of your life, that is being meditative. And when that happens, then the total transformation of your personality happens, meaning you reach the ultimate state of self-realization. The dreamer becomes the waker. This is from ultimate point of view. Even from relative point of view, that process itself gives you growth, that constant growth it is giving you. So as a seeker, you have to understand that you need to put efforts to turn knowledge into wisdom. So these were the main points in verse number 1 and 2. Now, just to brief the class about what is happening, Swami Parthasarathi, my guru, is not doing that well. He has been in the hospital for the past 4 weeks. He was in ICU for a long time, but he's stable. He's not in any danger or anything. And I got an opportunity to see him in the hospital. They have called me at 8:30 Indian time. It's 8:15 p.m. here. So unfortunately, I won't be able to take today's session. But what we are going to do, we are going to read Swamiji's commentary from the book, verse number 3, 4, 5, and 6. And next week, I'll be back home. I'll be in Detroit on Tuesday. So I'll explain in detail these 4 verses, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So either Radha or Veera, they are going to read the commentary from the book. And I will see you in Detroit next week. But tomorrow's class is on, in case somebody is attending the Holocaust of Attachment. There is no change in that class. In case there is any change, we'll inform you. But you see the link, the why we are taking that book, the Holocaust of Attachment, because our mind is attached. That's the main message in the first verse. So Gita is not going to explain. He just says, okay, you plant your mind on me. I mean, what do you learn from that? So therefore, in-depth analysis of attachment, and everybody is attached. It's a question of more or less. So in case you are not attending that class, it's a good opportunity to start attending. And in fact, we are getting into the third chapter, correct me if I'm wrong, of that book, right? So where is one of the important chapters. So you're more than welcome to join us tomorrow. So I'd like to take leave and I will see you tomorrow. So Vijay, how do I log out without closing the meeting? We need your help.
Miji, you already transferred the co-host with us. Should be good enough, but
Make Vijay the host
yeah, let's do that.
from Amitji's end.
And then I simply close the meeting after that.
Yeah, Miji. Yeah, I'm right now the host. I think you can leave it.
So sorry about the short session. I will see you tomorrow.
Hari Om, Vijay. Take care.
Thank you, Amitji.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amitji.
Can we have?
मनुष्याणां सहस्रेषु कश्चिद्यतति सिद्धये यततामपि सिद्धानां कश्चिन्मां वेत्ति तत्त्वतः.
Verse 3, translation. Among thousands of men, scarce one strives for perfection. Of those who strive and succeed, scarce one knows me in essence.
This verse further encourages spiritual seekers to strive for perfection. A human being stands out as the chef d'oeuvre of creation, a masterpiece among all creatures. Providence has indeed blessed humanity with infinite potentiality. Nevertheless, among humans, hardly anyone strives for self-development. And even among the strivers for perfection, scarcely one pursues with determination to reach the ultimate state of self-realization. The cross-section of humanity totally lacks interest in self-development, much less in self-realization. People run after the enchantments of the world because they provide them instant pleasures. They do not wish to pursue the self because they lack the patience and perseverance to strive and struggle and wait indefinitely for its long-term benefits. All over the world, people look for immediate results with an eye on personal pleasure. Therefore, the one who strives for perfection belongs to that highly privileged class of people. And the one who strives harder still to realize the self becomes unique and the most outstanding. Seekers of truth should derive a great deal of satisfaction and encouragement from this verse, which puts them all on a high pedestal.
भूमिरापो नलो वायुः खं मनो बुद्धिरेव च अहङ्कार इतीयं मे भिन्ना प्रकृतिरष्टधा.
Verse 4, translation. Earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, intellect, and also ego. Such is the eightfold division of my Prakriti, nature.
As an enlightened soul who has merged with the Supreme Reality, Krishna again uses the pronouns I and my to mean Brahman. Herein, he declares earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, intellect, and ego as his Prakriti, nature. This eightfold division constitutes the lower aspect of Brahman. The five rudimentary elements of the eightfold division, namely space, air, fire, water, and earth, are known as Mahabhutas. The Mahabhutas, in their pure and nascent form, combine to mold subtle matter, the material which constitutes the mind, intellect, and ego. These elements, however, subject themselves to grossification through a process of pentamerous self-division and mutual combination called Panchakarna. Panchakarna transforms the subtle into gross elements. The gross elements combine to mold gross matter. The gross and the subtle matter together constitute the lower nature of Brahman. The physical body is made up of gross matter. The mind, manas, and the intellect, buddhi, of subtle matter. The physical body houses the five organs of perception, jnana, indriyas, and the five organs of action, karma, indriyas. The mind consists of passions and emotions, feelings and impulses, likes and dislikes, doubts and indecision, whereas the intellect thinks, reasons, discriminates, judges, and decides. A third factor in a human being is the ego, ahankara, which connects impulses of the mind and the decisions of the intellect as one's own. The feeling that both the doubts and the decisions are mine. This idea of possessiveness is the ego. These equipments, the body and the mind, intellect, ego, together form the lower aspect of Brahman. The following verse covers its higher aspect.
अपरेयमितस्त्वन्याम् प्रकृतिं विद्धि मे पराम् जीवभूतां महाबाहो ययेदं धार्यते जगत्.
Verse 5, translation. This is the lower, but different from it, O Mahabaho. Know my higher Prakriti, nature, the life element by which this universe is supported.
The lower nature of Brahman comprises subtle and gross matter. The mind, intellect, and ego forming the subtle, and the gross elements, earth, water, fire, air, and space forming the gross matter. The lower nature of Brahman, comprising mere matter, has no life in itself. In this verse, Krishna, as Brahman, expresses his higher nature, the life element which enlivens matter, Brahman, in the form of spirit, higher, and the matter, lower, therefore combines to bring about the expression of life in this universe of living beings. The spirit is the supreme self within. The self, functioning through the material equipments, produces life, living beings. The material equipments, the body and the mind, intellect, ego, are inert and insentient in themselves. But when they come in contact with the self, they become sentient. The self is the sentient principle, the life-giving force or power. It relates to the material equipments like electricity to an electric bulb. A bulb in itself has no light, nor does electricity. But when electricity contacts a bulb, there is a brilliant expression of light. Similarly, the body with mind, intellect, and ego together have no life inherent in them, nor does the self. But when they combine, there is a scintillating expression of life. Mahabaho refers to Arjuna. The name literally means mighty arm. Krishna subtly suggests to Arjuna to use his mighty arms to conquer the supreme self within, the higher aspect of Brahman.
एतद्योनीनि भूतानि सर्वाणीत्युपधारय अहं कृत्स्नस्य जगतः प्रभवः प्रलयस्तथा.
Verse 6, translation. Know this to be the womb of all beings. I am the origin and the dissolution of the whole universe.
Verse 4 describes the lower nature of Brahman as gross and subtle matter. Verse 5 describes Brahman's higher nature as the life principle, the spirit which enlivens matter. The combination of spirit and matter produces life, living beings. The higher and the lower parts of Brahman act as the warp and the woof of creation. Verse 6 refers to this combination as the womb of creation, as the cause of the universe of living beings. Continuing his stand as Brahman, Krishna declares himself as the origin, Prabhava, and the dissolution, Pralaya, of the whole universe. Brahman acts as the substratum of this universe of beings, like an ocean supporting waves on its surface. The vast sheet of water below acts as the substratum upon which the waves rise and fall. Waves emerge from the ocean, exist for a while in the ocean, and merge back into the ocean. The ocean becomes the origin and the dissolution of all waves. Similarly, out of Brahman, all creatures emerge. They exist in Brahman and into Brahman, and they eventually merge. Krishna, as Brahman, therefore declares himself as the origin and the dissolution of the entire universe.
Hari Om. This concludes today's class. As Hamidji has mentioned earlier, we'll be back for the next class next Saturday when he will also be back in the United States. Thank you and have a good weekend.
Thank you.